What's up everyone, and welcome back here to the Megan Moves channel, and welcome back for episode 2 of the Three Sisters Side Hustle segment that is going on my YouTube channel. I am super excited today because in this episode we are going to be highlighting my side hustle, which is how I make my soap. So for the longest time, I have mainly just been sticking to one particular recipe when it comes to my soap making. I've just gotten really comfortable with using it, and I found that it works really well for what I want to do with it. But I have been seeing on the internet a lot about using a particular ingredient for making a soap and doing a particular design with it. So let's see what we're going to be doing today. So I've got some of my oils and everything ready for today's soap, but in particular, we are going to be using honey. So we're going to be making a honey soap today, and I was able to figure out a recipe to use for making some honey soap, but there's also a particular design that I've seen all over Pinterest, Instagram. When I look through soap making hashtags, I see this design when it comes to making honey soap, and I'm super excited to try it out for myself. So here's a little spoiler of what it looks like, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using bubble wrap to make the honeycomb shape for the honey design on the top of the soap. So I'm super excited to give this a try for myself, and let's go ahead and get on into the soap making and we'll see how it turns out. I will also add that I've been a little bit hesitant to use honey in a soap recipe so far because I've seen a lot of things on the internet talking about horror stories or just bad experiences with using honey in general when it comes to soap making. If your oils are too hot or too cold, depending on the conditions, the honey can actually caramelize inside of the soap, and it just makes for a bad batch and just a really weird design in the soap. So that definitely could happen to us today. We're gonna see how it turns out. It could be a total fail, but you never know unless you try. So let's go ahead and actually try it. Okay, so I already went ahead and I prepared my lye water solution. So that is out on the back porch cooling down, because what I wanna do, since the honey can kind of affect the recipe, I've read about trying to make sure that all of your ingredients are as cool as possible. So I wanted to go and allow my lye water solution time to cool down, but now we're going to add all of the oils in, and then we are going to add in the honey. All right, so we have added the correct amount for our palm oil and coconut oil, but you'll see here they aren't fully melted and we need them to be fully incorporated with each other. So we still have yet to add our olive oil, but I'm gonna go throw this in the microwave real quick and then we will finish up with our oils. And here we are, our coconut oil and palm oil are all melted and incorporated together. So now we're just going to add our olive oil as our last oil before the honey. And this is a lot easier. The palm oil and coconut oil are more of a harder oil, so sometimes they can be a little bit hard to add to your mixture since you might need to melt them down, but it's always easy to just pour out the olive oil, as you can see here. All right, and now it is time to add our honey to the soap. So since the honey can be a little bit finicky when it comes to making soap out of it, I've read that due to the high sugar content in honey, the sugar can actually cause the mixture to heat up more than usual, which is why I tried to keep all of my oils down to the coolest temperature possible, and that's what causes the honey to caramelize it sometimes. So I found that it is recommended to only use about a teaspoon of honey per how many pounds of soap you are making. So I have a 3-pound mold. So we are just going to do 3 teaspoons of honey. And I have my immersion blender here with me, and I'm going to pour in the honey and then immediately mix right afterwards. That way the honey gets all incorporated with our oils and it doesn't stick to the bottom or anything. as you can see, we have all of our honey incorporated with our oils. It was a little bit trickier trying to get the honey out of the little measuring spoon since it is cold honey. I was going to heat it up in the microwave first, so that way it was going to be a little bit runny and easier to get in, but trying to stay with the cooler oils and cooler temperatures for our ingredients here. But I've got my mold already. We're going to go get our lye water solution, and then we're going to get started making our soap. I also decided that I want to try to keep this as natural of a bar as I can, so we're going to use the honey as the natural fragrance and colorant today. I'm not going to add any fragrances or colorings, just going to try to keep it a little bit simple today, so that way we can try out this honey recipe and also just have a nice natural bar like I had said. So we have our lye water solution here, and it's ready to be added to our oils. But beforehand, I wanted to say that I usually don't use gloves whenever I prepare my oils, but anytime that I do handle the lye or the lye water solution, I am always making sure that I have gloves because it can really hurt your hands if it gets on your hands. So after this step, I will have gloves on the entire time, but we're gonna go ahead, add our lye water solution to our soap and get on mixing. And whenever I pour it, I just pour it right down the stick blender, so that way it reduces the amount of spattering or spilling that might happen. And we'll set that off to the side, and we will get started mixing. And so now we have all of our oils and the lye water all mixed together, and I think it's ready to be poured into the mold. And you can tell because, I'm not sure if you can see it, but whenever you lift up your stick blender and kind of move it around, you can see these lines in the soap, and that is called trace. So that's a good indication on if you have all of your oils and your lye water fully incorporated together, so that way they won't separate in the mold. So we're just going to go ahead and add it on into our mold. So I'm still working on perfecting this, but we're going to just go ahead and pour it right in. It's easy because we just have all one color, nothing that we have to split up to pour in, so it's nice and easy here. I also did notice that once the oils and lye water were mixing together, the color did change. So I hope we're still on a good track here and that our soap will turn out, but either way, I'm really liking the color. I think it's really neat. So I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out. And I'm just gonna scrape out the rest of the soap here in the container. All right, we've got all our soap in the mold. Now we're just going to give it a few little smacks on the table. That's going to make sure that we got any air bubbles out of the mold, so that way it doesn't leave voids in the soap, and just to even out the top here. But now is for the exciting part, the part that I have been waiting for, and that is adding the bubble wrap to the top of the soap to give that honeycomb shape or honeycomb design. So I just cut out typical piece of bubble wrap, just I did it a little bit long in case I ever get a longer mold. I'm not sure if you can reuse it after doing this, but we're just going to add it here to the soap. I wanted to do only half of the soap with the honeycomb design, and then the rest with a little spoon design. And my gloves are a little bit big for me, so gotta make sure that the fingers don't poke out, but you just want all these little voids to be filled. I'm just gonna poke it down in there. Okay, and there we go. So we've got our bubble wrap on there for the design, and it's still a little bit wiggly, not hardened up enough, so we're gonna give it a little bit and then I'm gonna go back through and do a nice spoon texture on the other side. Okay, the soap's had a little bit of time to set up, so it still moves a little bit, but it's well hardened by now. So we're just gonna go through and add a little bit of spoon scoops or whatever here. Give me a nice little spoon design. Might go back one more time. Still working on my soap design techniques. They definitely need a little bit of help, but that's what practice is for. And there we go. That pretty much does it for our soap. Now all we have to do is let it sit for about a day and then we'll come back and cut it all up. I am really curious to see if this works out or not. I'm actually a little bit nervous. I really hope that the sugar in the honey doesn't caramelize and leave us with a really weird looking bar, but I'm gonna just leave it left open. Usually I put cardboard over top and towels so that way it can harden the right way that it needs to, but I'm gonna make sure that this is open and it is allowed to cool off as much as it needs so that way it doesn't caramelize our honey. So we're just gonna see how it goes and I will see you guys tomorrow for the cutting portion. All right, so it's 24 hours later. We have allowed our soap enough time to sit and settle, and now it's time to unmold it and cut it up and see if it worked out. So for the most part, it looks pretty good. We've got some soda ash that formed on the top, which is normal. That's usually what happens with my soaps. I'm still trying to figure out how to get rid of that, but it's looking pretty good otherwise. So we've got our honeycomb on the top and then the little scoops. So we're just gonna take it out of the mold and start slicing it up. Well, we are all good and ready to go. I have the soap all ready to cut up. We've got our just straight cutter here that I'm gonna do today for the cutting. I have a crinkle one, but we're gonna do the straight one. And so I'm just going to start unmolding and slicing up the soap, and we will see how it turns out. Alright, so far so good. It doesn't look like we had any terrible discoloration or anything. We've got some discoloration here in the center. I think that's where the soap started to gel a little bit. But we're going to start slicing it up. Hopefully we don't see any of the inside kind of caramelized, but let's slice it up and we'll see. And moment of truth. All right. Okay, so I think we are actually pretty good. I'm not sure what this coloring means, but we don't have any caramelization or anything. So I would say that this was not a fail and that our soaps turned out pretty well. I think that with time, as they start to dry out, I have a feeling that they might start to turn more of this tan color. So for the most part, I think they turned out well, and I am super glad that this was not a fail. So let's keep on cutting. Got them all cut up here and I absolutely love them. They smell really good. They smell a little bit like beeswax actually, but they have definitely a honey hint to them. I just think they are a really nice, natural, fresh looking bar. I absolutely love it. Love the honeycomb design look here on the top. But the last thing that I do when it comes to finishing up my soaps is I use this potato peeler here and I just peel off the edges to give it a nice finished look, and you'll see down below I have a big container here of other scraps, and I've started to make confetti soaps. So whenever I make new soaps, I always go and clean them up around here, and then I'll use the scraps in a confetti soap design. So I'm just gonna clean the edges up here, and here is the final bar. What do you guys think? Definitely let me know in the comments, but I am super excited about it. Alright everyone, well that is just about going to have to do it for today's vlog. Thank you very much for watching my first time trying to make a honey soap and the second episode of the Three Sisters Side Hustle series. I hope you guys enjoyed today. I am super thrilled with how these soaps turned out. I love the design, love the color and the smell. I think it looks great. I think for my first honey soap, they turned out pretty well and could have resulted in a total fail, but it actually worked out okay. So thank you so much again for tuning in to today's video and today's episode. If you guys are interested in seeing these soaps in more detail or some of my soaps in general, you can go ahead and check out the link below to my Etsy shop where you can find all of my soaps and other products that I sell on there as well. But thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If you're interested in keeping up with this Three Sisters Side Hustle series, or just seeing more of my soap adventures in general, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below to stay posted on future videos that are uploaded. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you in future episodes.